problem with critical race theory. Theories are supposed to lead to praxis. You have the theory of relativity, and what did you get as a result? The nuclear bomb. You have germ theory, and what did germ theory lead to? Antibiotics, sterilization techniques. So when you have a theory is supposed to lead to systematic practices and policy. And here these Negroes in Harvard, these wealthy, affluent, accomplished Negroes who have been studying and advancing concepts of critical race theories for over 4 decades. Where the hell is the praxis? Praxis is just a fancy word for practice. But praxis is practice born out of theories. So if you come up with a theory, a systematic means of understanding something, of evaluating something, of breaking something down and constructing, synthesizing, and dissecting something, and you conclude and you come up with a theory of something, then the next logical step is to come up with a praxis. These are the actions, or these are the discoveries, or these are the inventions that are born of the theory. And where the hell is that, Harvard Negroes? Ivy League Negroes? Rich affluent Negroes? Obama? Where the hell is the critical race praxis? Because without critical race praxis, then critical race theory is nothing but intellectual masturbation. You sit up with the white folks in the martini glass and the tweed sport coat, and you go to conference after conference, and you get grant after grant, and yet the racial conditions continue to deteriorate. The oppression continues to intensify. Critical race theory is nothing but intellectual masturbation without critical race praxis, or what I call liberation practice. What are the liberation inventions? What are the liberation policies? What are the liberation tools, instruments, ideas that are born of this theory? If you go and find even the theory of gravity, they use that theory to do everything from space exploration to architecture. These formulas of how gravity impacts structures. They even use gravity in healthcare, the theories and understanding of gravity and altitude for fitness, for training athletes. They have athletes trained at different altitudes for various outcomes. Where is that for critical race theories? Y'all Negroes been doing critical race theory and academics and writing books. The founders most of them are dead. It's a whole new generation of critical race theories. Where's the critical race liberation praxis, critical race praxis? If you conclude that racism innervates and inundates every aspect of law, construction, policy, implementation of law enforcement, all of it's racist, what shall we do? Oh, we should write a study. We should write a position paper. Hell, Derek Bell wrote a fictional book. We should write up, and it was a New York Times bestseller. Rest in peace to DMX. I'm not gonna say this anymore. When he said, "Is y'all niggas crazy? Is y'all niggas crazy? I'll bust you in persuasion. Are y'all crazy?" I can't say that. I gotta stop saying the N-word. Kwabana. Every time I say the N-word on the Bro Diallo show, I get a message for Brother Kwabana. And so I'm trying to avoid checking my inbox today because I said the N-word on here. I did it to myself. I only have myself to blame. But critical race praxis. So you go to Harvard, you sit up there and you learn critical race theory, then you need to come back to the community and say, hey, I'm a big egghead Negro. I know lots of stuff. And I know this thing that I can demonstrate that every aspect of the legal system, of the legislative system, of law enforcement has racial impacts. And so what we need to do as individuals, or what we need to do as a collective, not to just survive, how to survive the law. Don't talk to the police. Keep your hands up. Ask for a law if you're a minor. Ask to speak with your parent. But no, how do we end it? Now, how do we survive white aggression and racism? How do we end it? Or better, how do we end our vulnerability? Not as individuals in individuals' encounters with the system, but as collectives, as how do we develop a system of praxis, policies, institutions that will counter and overcome their shit. I don't see that coming out of the critical race environment. And that's my only criticism. As far as their evaluations, they're pretty much on point. But there's too much intellectual masturbation. There's too much. And if we, back 40, 50 years ago, when critical race theory was developing, had come up with an accompanying critical race praxis or liberation praxis, then we wouldn't be sitting here hemming and hawing, oh, white folks not gonna let us teach this no more. White folks wouldn't be in a position to tell us what we could or couldn't do, regardless of what they want to write in their silly little books or what Fox News says or don't say. So if you have a theory about something and 40 years later, you're just not just as vulnerable, but you're more vulnerable, what was the point of having the theory? What is the point of a deep understanding of something if you don't intend to impact that thing? Why learn about it? Just curiosity? I understand curiosity. I learn about things all the time, and I don't intend to do nothing about that with that knowledge but have it. That's it. I'm a curious person. But when I learn about something that's going to impact my people for generations, that's going to determine both how I live and how I die, how soon I die. I want to go over, I don't have time. You know, this research paper and this press release out of the mayor's office, how black people are living, how black people's lifespan is a decade shorter than white folks, give or take. Black people dying in our 80s while white folks is living today on average. No, wait. White folks living 9.2 years longer than black folks. The average black person dies at 71.4 years, where white folks make it to on average 81 or better. A decade. And they say that's for black people who have everything else. The only difference, they white, we not. So you got something that is taking decades off our lives, that is destroying our capacity to thrive in this system. And all you can do is just keep writing papers. And they're not instructional papers, they're evaluative. Just breaking it down and breaking it down and breaking it down. And I know you had to go to Harvard to learn that everything in this system is racist. But some of us know that. Poverty will teach you that quicker than Harvard. Now what? And then what? So I would encourage all critical race practitioners, Dr. Washington, holla. Dr. Amai Washington, I had him on a Q&A with Bro Diallo. And he's a critical race theorist. He teaches it, he utilizes its theories in his classroom. Brothers, sisters, I ain't dissing. I appreciate the work the brother does. But we need critical race praxis. We need clearly defined actions to take. We need to adjust and amend black culture, black social theories, black value systems, black interpersonal and communal relationships. We need to rework them in such a way that diminishes and eventually destroys our vulnerability to white aggression. But the problem is, if you utilize critical race theory, you're going to ultimately reach the conclusion that nothing short of black uprising, Pan-African revolution is the solution. And if Pan-African revolution comes, there'll be a lot of black people whose status is harmed. Because if you raise up in the system of your oppressor, it's as soon as the system of your oppressor is destroyed, then you lose all your standing. There's a bunch of people in Afghanistan right now who for the last 20 years been eating real high on the hog. And now that the U.S. occupying forces is leaving, now they're trying to run from the country. And there are a lot of black people in that status. When Western imperialism and capitalism falls, there's a lot of black people who are going to fall with it. Even though you're going to have 1 billion black people rise up, that few thousand black people who are going to fall with the system would rather see the 1 billion black people live under oppression than lose their standing within our oppressive system. Bro Diallo Show, Q4 Radio. I got to wrap this up. I'm over time. I apologize. My own fault. No one to blame but me. But that's it. I know y'all probably